technology, how PropTech would help in disaster management across that value chain, whether it is finance, whether it's regulation, whether it's planning, across that value chain.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Roland, and it's an awesome privilege to be here. I'll stand on all existing protocol. I'm very, very delighted to be here. I think the first part of it I would like to discuss, and I'm sure most of my panelists will have insights to share as well, is from the perspective of even making sure that we are able to avoid disaster in the first place. I think if we take time to look into disasters that have happened, we had a couple of collapses in the last year, 2 years in the state, we can actually see what some of the causes of this were. And what technology does is that it helps you build in structures to making sure that the processes for example, construction that we're talking about are followed. So for example, today we have multiple businesses in the value chain that are focusing on using technology to affect the space. One of which is Construct. What does Construct do? Construct makes sure companies are able to not just procure materials digitally, but procure the right quantities. We understand the concept of AI. With AI in the future, we'll be able to tell construction companies not just the right quality materials to buy, but the right quantities, the right specs, and to monitor. Now, if systems like this are put in place, what that means is that the fear of substandard buildings can be averted by the use of technology. And that's where PropTech comes in. Right? So, every problem that we encounter today has a solution. The question is typically, who is enforcing? Who is regulating? Who is making sure the right things are done? And what we're saying is that technology can be put in place to make sure the right things are done. I hope that helps you, Roland.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it sets the basis for our conversation. Basically, I've heard you talk about how technology helps on the supply side, to just make sure that you have the right quantities and you're not buying goods that are substandard and all of that, which is very good. Trudy, I'll move quickly to you. Again, just to give your views and hope now on how PropTech is helping with disaster management and recovery.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Trudy Osiegbu. Again, very happy to be here and standing on all the existing protocols. I run a company called Venco. We build operating systems for communities like estates, apartment blocks, and other places where groups of people live together. So we are more on the operational end of the spectrum of the PropTech value chain. We are kind of like an information management system for these communities. So one of the cores or the pillars of what we built is at least a directory system for residents, or property owners in estates or in these communities. And what that information does is that it enables us to be very useful pre-disaster, during disasters, and after disasters when we are now looking at recovery. So let's say what is a recent, disaster that has happened. COVID was a major one, and platforms like ours were very instrumental in helping to manage, COVID when it came about, because they were used as platforms for dissemination of information, for how to deal with these events, and for how to prepare for circumstances that are unplanned. Even for more sudden types of disasters, having the type of information that we have in terms of who lives in what communities, how many occupants are there here, and so on and so forth, can be very instrumental in making sure that help is it can be delivered at the point of need should sudden disasters happen, because then you have a manifest of it. On an individual level, you can even use it for immediate or emergency healthcare. So, for example, we've partnered with a company called 8 Medical, that is essentially the 911 for Africa. where residents in the communities that use Venco and similar solutions to us can raise emergencies and basically get help delivered to them based on their location and other bits of information. So also during emergencies, just having the information of who lives in a particular place helps you to know who to do rescue efforts for, and who is unaccounted for during the course of an emergency. There's also a unique situation where pre and post emergency or disaster, platforms like ours can also be very useful, which is insurance. So because more and more real estate is delivered in communal formats, you have a very strong platform using community management platforms to do shared insurance where the group, the estate, the apartment block can, as part of their monthly contributions or service charges, have a component of it that is, allocated to a group insurance policy, such that should there be a disaster, part of the recovery can be that this policy protects, or at least helps to, initiate or contribute towards the recovery. It could be the rebuilding of properties. It could be the replacement of major capex equipment that has gotten damaged. It could be life insurance and things like that. So I would say that, this is how, at least at our end of the spectrum of prop tech, we are able to help, to manage this.
Very interesting. Thank you, Chidi. Quickly, I'll move over to Nti. I know that your firm runs sitemap, which is looking at mapping locations and all of that. It would be interesting to know how, beyond just assuring people of their parcel of land, how your technology helps in emergency situations and disaster recovery, and basically to even avert disasters.
All right, thank you so much. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I'm really happy to be here and to share my thoughts. So for us as SignMap, what we are doing is deploy geographic information system, which of course is science of location, to build data for the developers. And essentially when we have the layout of these developers, which is one of the prerequisites for building a community, we are able to position that with the exact location where the property is being built. What that does is to help the customers of these developers to ascertain the properties that they want to buy. And on the platform today, a lot has been said about disaster and how disaster can be averted. And I'll speak to the recent happening, surrounding flood and that led to the demolition of many buildings around the Qatar, I think Facestock as well. So our solution can help in that respect because for the buyers, after all of this happened, the buyers are the ones that really get blunt for all the issues. What the solution can do is to help these buyers to independently, even from the comfort of their homes, to vet these properties. They can see waterways, which are the primary cause of those demolitions. They can see it for themselves, such that they can make informed decisions based on data that are available, and that will prevent them to getting into bad transactions. And that's what we are doing. Of course, for the developers as well, with some of these data that are getting built over time, it will help government agencies to be able to make predictions, analytics that will help them make decisions for infrastructures, the things that they need to do. Because when they have data of ownership, buyers, and all of that, they can begin to see, okay, who are the people buying properties? Where are they buying the properties? What kind of properties are they buying? So for developers, they can tap into those sort of data that will help them make decisions as per investment that will get the right customer. Now for the government, there are other solutions like remote sensing, because we also have heard HOS talk about the manpower in the service. We can use technologies like remote sensing to monitor locations so that the people are intruding into government reserve areas. The ministry will already know, and then they can make effort to cut that. With all of this, you can see that disaster can be managed. of course, the effect of those disasters on the investors can also be addressed even before they happen.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, you mentioned something about how you are using GIS, and our next commentator is a guru, Dr. Lajide. I know that he holds all the ACs when it comes to EGIS in Lagos State. Your thoughts, sir?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Room is very, very, very quiet today. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I think the first thing we should do as a government is to appreciate our partners sitting to my left. I think we should give them a round of applause. Because one thing is very clear. If we don't take action, other people will do it for us. And one of the things I found since I came to Lagos is that a number of companies organically have grown, trying to do some of the things that we should be doing in government. So I'd like to first start by saying
God bless you, sir.
thank you very much. And I really appreciate it. I've been following what you do in your company, even though I've never met you. So I want to say keep up the good work. But as a state, what are we doing? First, we are carrying out a mapping project. The last time this was done from the Ministry of Science and Technology. So I guess it's not an accident that we're sitting in this order. Because the Ministry of Science and Technology in 2009 carried out a mapping to create LiDAR images and orthophoto so that we can have, real recognition of exactly what properties exist in Lagos. So I want to say a very big thank you to the Ministry of Science and Technology. But today, after the mapping of 2009, we're carrying out another mapping, and that's going to be completed this December. And then we'll have, an interactive cadastral for Lagos State. The second thing I want to talk about, because this now has to do with real estate. So what is it that we're doing with Lasfera? Lasfera will be creating our own GIS platform. So when the new SA housing, came in, we had a discussion, and she wanted to know how technology can help Washington, because already they have the real estate data. So this data has been built over time. I was in her office and I saw her signing, I think it's certificate, right, for real estate companies. So that means if you have a certificate from Lasfera will follow your activities, know the estates that you own, and probably know who your customers are. So they already have that database manually. They may have also put it on the system, but it needs to be interactive. So HOS was here earlier, and he was former permanent secretary lands, so he knows everything that we are doing. So we are trying to connect Lasfera to the information at the Lands Bureau and the Office of Solicitor General. So that means that if you are a customer, you want to buy a property, if you go through Lasfera, they have the privilege on the platform to check and make sure that what you are buying is not something that will give you problem in the future. So Lasfera has already given us the space, and they're now going to have a full GIS unit. In that GIS unit, they will have screens where they can get onto the platform, have access to the orthophoto, and actually see that the house exists. A lot of people abroad, they say, oh, we bought houses. You bought a house and that house does not exist. You come back to Nigeria and you're crying. Your first point of call is Lasfera. But Lasfera doesn't want you to cry. That's the reason why Lasfera wants to be connected to this platform, so that if you send them a message and say, I want to buy a house in so estate, you understand, they will ask for the coordinates if you do have. If you don't have the coordinates, they probably send their officers out to check, and they'll be able to inform you that this house that you're trying to buy exists or not. So this is something that is good, that is happening between the EGIS office and Lasfera. Let's talk about the land use charge. Already we know that every property owner, it's not just if you own a house, even if you own a plot of land, you have to pay land use charge. Even if you feel that you are not using the land, so long as that land is signed to your name, you need to pay some form of taxes to the government, whether it's in terms of tenement rate, ground rent, or whatever. So what am I saying in essence? We're also working, to make sure that we have the database of our land use charge complete. The completeness of this will also ensure that if you are paying Lagos State your land use charge, in the future when you have problem with that particular land, you'll be able to make reference to the fact that I pay land use charge, why should I have a problem with my land? I've seen someone here today who was saying, oh, I have building approval, I have this, I have that. Now the Office of Drainage or the Ministry of Environment wants to demolish my house. Do they have the right to demolish my house? Commissioner for Physical Planning has just answered and said yes, because you also need to get the drainage clearance. If you don't have the drainage clearance, that means you shouldn't even get the approval in the first place. So, and I know that the Commissioner for Physical Planning explained that properly. All of these things are going to be interconnected on our platforms. And this is part of the things that he was just talking about and said, I'm sure that very soon you have to work with our office. We need to work with the private sector. You need to be one of the people that will certify, that will be our agent, to work with the public. We need to work together. We shouldn't work in silos. Then I want to talk about the electronic physical planning process system. The Commissioner for Physical Planning talked about it. It has to do with the cap and the number of things. But that electronic physical planning process system has to do with everything that has to do with physical planning. All the processes in the Ministry of Physical Planning is being automated today. And I can tell you that very soon, all things being equal, I said all things being equal, we have the right soil sample, the results are there, it is not fake. Your building drawings are correct, the working drawings are correct. You can turn it into a system, and in 10 minutes, you can get a building approval. Today, we are talking about the 10-day deal. But I'm saying that very soon with technology, you can get your building approval in 10 minutes. The World Bank has, indicators, when you talk about the ease of doing business. So I can tell you, even if I'm building a house, it's like I'm doing business with the state. Because the state is going to take my money. The people who are in the built environment, whether it's a contractor, architects and all that, will take my money. But being able to get access to land is one of the indicators. Another is being able to register a company. Another is being able to get building permit. So building permit is very essential and very important. If our building permits can be done in 10 minutes, don't you think that Lagos will probably be highest on the index of the ease of doing business, not only in Nigeria but in Africa? Because today we rank number 5 after Kaduna and a couple of other states. This is where we want to be, because we want to make Lagos a better city for you, Lagos a better state for you. In part of the team's agenda is making Lagos a 21st century city. We also have LASPIC. What is LASPIC? LASPIC is Lagos State Planning Information Center. Before now, when Asiwaju came to power, one of the things that was found was that you go to our planning permit office and you have thousands of files lying in different rooms without people having space to sit. The question is the space for the file, or the space is for our staff or for our customers? I don't know how to answer that question, because both the customer, the files, and the staff, they are all supposed to be in that space. So in the wisdom of Asiwaju, a project was started which is called LASPIC. And from the records that I have, because I was not in the state at that time, a law was promulgated which says that we can keep those things electronically. Which means that all those files, because if you've seen a file that is taken for, that you have processed approval through, it has a set of drawings and has so many comments. All of those things you cannot wish away, you cannot throw them away. So what the Lagos State government has done is to create Lagos State Physical Planning Information Center. But that center before now was a center where we just scanned things to the system. You had the HOS talking about the EGIS not just being about digitization. It's not just about scanning. It's different. It needs to be interactive. So what we're saying is that both the customer, the staff, and the records can meet on the system. The implication is very, very soon. If you cannot find your building plan, you can go to the LASPIC website and you can apply for a certified true copy. I think you should clap for Lagos State. If you want to buy a property, you want to check that that property has an approval, you can get on the platform and check real time whether the property has an approval. If it doesn't have an approval, will you buy it? No, you will not buy. So these are some of the things that has been done over time. So in the administration of Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, we are now coming up with a portal where people who want to get access to planning information that the Commissioner for Physical Planning talked about, right from pre-design to design to construction, post-construction, you'll be able to find all the information you need electronically, even if you are sitting in China. Even if you are sitting in space, you'll be able to get that information on our platform. Now, last year, Roland was also the moderator. So we went with a young man who says what he does is, e-selling, e-transactions in real estate. And I took particular interest in this company. So I went with a team. We went to visit his office, and I saw that there are a team of young people doing great things, which is almost the same as your company. So, I have your company name here. I did not know you were here as well. That company is called Buy, Let, Live. Buy, Let, Live. So, with the platform that we are trying to create, and with the kind of right partners, with what you are doing, we are going to create an electronic market for Lasrera, so that Lasrera can become a very big agency that you are not only regulating, people who have come to see us in the office, but you are regulating people from all over the world who are doing real estate transactions. I must stop here because, the Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Technology is here, because they actually have the solution. But we, in EGIs, we are the experts in the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olajide. I think what you've said is very interesting. So it's good now that we are moving to digitizing all of the information. But Doc, what we want in the PropTech space is that we have over 148 PropTech startups. The major challenge we have is that we cannot call your APIs. Okay, so I'm very happy. I'm going to hold you, and I'm happy that the Honorable Commissioner is here. We must be able to call the APIs of the data that you have. And it's not free, even if you want to charge for every call that we make. And that is what will bring transparency into the sector. I'll come back to you, sir, but let me just let the Honorable Commissioner. I know that there's a lot that's happening within the state in terms of innovation and supporting PropTech, technology startup, not just PropTech. So I want your thoughts, also just share with us what's been happening in your ministry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me start on all existing protocol. I think the special advisor on EGIS has said a lot, and a lot of the technology to get the kinds of information that you require for decision making that would also fuel your business model, right? So that is definitely going on. As you well know, we have over 100 agencies, multiple ministries, so it's petabytes of data, right? And so really getting the capacity, the data warehouses, the data lakes and all of that, setting the data standards, the software standard, the enterprise standards, right? Because even the protocols of data that you need to pay, right, must not be zigzagging, right? So that's really what's going on now, and that's happening. But on a purely tech basis, we are powering a lot of what is happening now. Even some of the startups that you mentioned in PropTech, we fund a number of them as well. We are also an innovation funding ministry. We fund not just PropTech, not just digital PropTech companies, but we also fund R&D in construction tech. Right? One of the companies we funded 2 years ago was a company doing alternative building materials, right? And so one of the things they did was, for instance, using plastic bottles to make interlocking stones and building bricks. So there were a couple of trials there, and we found out that those blocks had 70% higher tensile strength, right, than regular blocks. Right, and so even in the area of R&D in construction, right, because this will eventually inform the future laws, right, if that is something that is viable for the market, and then it's something that will be recommended to the market. So in terms of enabling digital property technology, in terms of enabling R&D, in terms of giving these kinds of platforms the engine room that they require to run, those are all the activities that we are doing in science and tech.
Thank you very much.